Hey Power App makers, this is Nate Hallowell with Pragmatic Works, back with another Power Apps video. And today we are going to be focusing on how to clone a record directly from our model-driven app. Let's get right into it. All right, everyone. So like we said in the intro, we're going to be talking today about how to clone a Dataverse record with the use of a PowerFx button in a model-driven app. This is a fairly new feature of model-driven apps just released in the last year. So many people don't know how to use it yet or are afraid to test it out. So hopefully today we're going to eliminate that fear. This is a question I've gotten from a few of my clients on our virtual mentoring sessions is, hey, Nate, I want to clone a record in Dataverse, but I don't want to use any third-party tools. And actually, the for a selected record in Dataverse action in Power Automate is now deprecated. So this is actually going to be the best way to do that action. So without any further ado, let's get right into it. What I have here is a just simple model-driven app that I've mocked up for this video. It's got a table, a Dataverse table called YouTube Video Ideas. And we've got a couple fields here, the video name, the idea description, the goal date to publish it, and the status of the video. So in a lot of cases with clients, they'll want to actually take one of these records and create a duplicate of it. In the past, you might have to use Power Automate, you might have to use some third-party tool to accomplish this, but we are going to actually use a very common function that's used in Canvas apps, which is called the patch function. Now, to use a PowerFx function inside of a model-driven app, the first step that we need to do is we need to go over to the left panel here, and where we have our tree view and our data sources, we want to go to the pages. So in the pages, we want to go to whatever screen we want to have this command bar or this new function on. And when I say function, what I'm talking about is these commands up here. These are all this is your command bar. And if we want to create a custom function inside of here, we first need to click on the ellipses menu next to the name of the page where we want to edit that command bar. And we're going to select, obviously, edit command bar. Now, while this is opening up, this is going to first ask us, where do we want to put this new command for this table? All right, this is a Dataverse table inside of our model-driven app. So do we want this on the main grid where all of the records are? Do we want it inside of the form? In our case, we're going to do this on the main grid. We're not only going to have the ability to clone one record, we are going to have the option to clone multiple records at one time, which is going to be a really nice function. So we're going to do this on the main grid where we have the ability to multi-select all of our records. So we're going to select edit, and we're going to get this kind of familiar view if you're used to Canvas apps. Let's see, override that. And so here is all of the commands associated with the main grid of this table. We've got the new button, the edit button, all of the commands that you are used to seeing in your command bar in your model-driven app. So if we want to create a new command, all we need to do is come up here to the new section and select new command. Now, if this is your first time doing that, you'll probably get a pop-up window right about here, and it will say, is this a PowerFx button or is this a JavaScript function? So you do have the ability to create both. We're going to be focusing on the PowerFx side today. So because I've already done this in this environment, it did not ask me if I wanted to create a PowerFx command or a JavaScript command, but it defaulted to PowerFx. If I wanted to change that when I added my new command, I could come over here to the action, and where it's running a formula, I could change that to run a JavaScript. So we're going to keep it with run formula. And the first thing we need to do is set the visibility of this, because we're going to be performing this command over multiple records potentially. So what we want to do is only have this button visible if at least one record is selected from the main grid. So let's go to the visibility section right here in your properties panel all the way to the right. And instead of just showing this button, we want to show conditionally, right? So we need to provide a condition for the model-driven app to say, okay, this is true, so show this command. And we only want to show this if the number of selected records in the main grid is greater than 0. So you could do a count rows and is greater than 0, or you could also do a not is empty function. So we'll do an is empty function, but then we'll do the inverse of that. And as you may or may not know, in PowerFx, the way to negate something, to negate a logical statement, is to lead it with an exclamation mark. So we're going to say not is empty. And then the items in this grid almost act, it's kind of like a gallery. Think of it as almost like a gallery in a Canvas app. So we're going to say not is empty self dot selected dot all items. So that is going to either show or hide this command. It's going to hide the command if we don't have any records selected. As soon as we select one, the function will show up. So now that I have that, I can actually go over to my other property of this command, which is the onSelect property. Right now it's just defaulted to true, but what we want to do is we want to loop over the selected items in the main grid, and then we want to insert a new record into that table that is basically a clone of that record. So what we're going to do is, like I said, a very common Canvas app function or PowerFx function. We're going to do a patch statement. But first, we need to do a ForAll statement because we want to loop over all of the items we've selected. So we're going to say ForAll self dot selected dot all items. So that's the table we want to iterate over. So for all of those, we want to do a patch statement. So we're going to patch, and my table is called video ideas. And the way that we tell Power Apps that we want to insert a record as opposed to edit a record is to say defaults. And then what is the source? What table are we using the default values for? Video ideas. Then we can start the actual patch statement. Now I've tested this a few times. I've tried the easy way, which is to just say, patch to video ideas, defaults, video ideas, and then this record. Unfortunately, it just does not want to cooperate in the model-driven app just yet. So we have to specify each and every record that we want to clone. So let's go ahead and say inside of curly brackets, this is where we're going to specify the fields and the values. So we're going to say the video idea, that's my primary name column, is going to be, now you could do this record dot video idea, and that will give you the exact same name. However, it might be better from like an auditing perspective to actually say like this is a clone of this record. So let's do, just like we would in Canvas apps, if we want to concatenate two pieces of text, we'll just use the ampersand function. So I'm going to say in double quotes and in all caps, clone dash, and then and. So it's going to say clone and whatever the record's video idea is. So that's our first field. We'll hit a comma and we'll say, I think the next was the description. So we'll say the idea description is this record dot idea description. Do a comma. The next field is, I think, the goal date. So the goal date to publish this video, this record dot goal date. And then lastly was the status, the video status, and that is this record dot video status. And with that, I will close my curly brackets. I'll close my patch statement, and I'll close my ForAll loop. And I am getting an error, so let's see what we have. Okay, so, the first record that I did, that video idea, that is actually the GUID column. So I think, what is that column called? Idea, name, video name. That's it. Sorry about that, folks. So video name, make sure you don't use your GUID column. And this record dot video name. There we go. Now I've gotten rid of all my errors. Nope, I haven't. The IntelliSense here is a little bit different than in Canvas apps. So here we go. Now I've got this function that will run. So let's go ahead and save and publish. So while we're waiting for all of the app to kind of finish publishing these new commands, let's go ahead and rename the command. We'll call this clone record or records. And then the icon, we can either upload our own kind of web resource and use that, or we can choose from the hundreds of built-in icons. So I'm gonna just actually erase this, and let's see if there's a clone. See, there already is a clone icon, so I'm gonna use this one. And now I'm gonna save and publish. All right, so looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and click play up here in this tab. Now this is gonna open up my model-driven app into a new browser tab for me. And let's see if it's there. If it's not, we can always refresh the page. There we go, there's our clone records, but it's still kind of working on the publishing and the updates. So it says a new version of this app is available. I'm gonna do a control refresh on my keyboard. So control refresh will clear the cache, hard reset. And now let's go ahead and test this out. So I'll do it with one item first. Let's clone how to clone a Dataverse record. Very meta. So we have one selected here. Let's go ahead and clone the record. And boom, there we go. Now I've got a record that's called clone of how to clone a Dataverse record. It's got the same description, it's got the same goal date, and it's got the same video status. Now let's try that one more time with two selected records. And we'll do the filter with multiple selected items in a combo box. So again, if any of these ideas are something you're interested in seeing, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'll be publishing these videos very soon. And then only run a flow when a certain column has changed in a SharePoint list. So with those two records selected, let's click our new clone records button. And we've got a bunch of new clones. Now we've got 3 clone records and we've got 3 original records. So I hope this was helpful. I hope this is a very simple example. Obviously, if you're cloning a table with 10 to 20 fields, it may take a little bit longer to write that patch statement. But this is a much easier way than creating a separate flow that does this. It's way easier than using any third-party tools that accomplish the same goal. So yeah, if you're interested in learning more about Power Apps and the Power Platform in general, make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel. We put out videos once to twice, sometimes 3 times per week, all related to the Power Platform and how to teach yourself how to go from kind of beginner to expert. So tons of free content on our YouTube channel. Thank you so much for tuning in, and hopefully you found this helpful, and we'll see you on the next video. Thanks, everyone.